Hey y'all, happy Thursday. Today we're talking more about graphing lines. We started this yesterday. So now we're going to kind of jump into more graphing lines. First of all lines are part of the linear family. And as you can see in the word linear, we've got a key word or a root word in it that is line. So all lines are part of the linear family. The parent function, so I've talked a little bit about parent functions earlier this year. The parent function is y equals x. So all lines derive from this parent function, and then the only thing that's changing is either the slope of the graph or where it starts, the y-intercept. So y equals x, normally I have the equation y equals mx plus b, right? Where m is my slope and b is my y-intercept. And again, this is called slope-intercept form because it gives me a slope and it gives me a y-intercept. So this one does not have plus b. There's nothing there. So this is like plus 0. So I'm starting at the origin. Anytime there's no plus b, you're always starting here at the origin. So it's plus 0. We're starting at the origin. Then I look at my coefficient or the number in front of x to give me what my slope is. There's nothing there, but how many x's do I have? That's like saying 1x, right? There's an imaginary 1 there. And I need to change it to be rise over run. Anytime I have a whole number and I want to change it into a fraction, I can just put whatever the number is. So this case, the number is 1, and put it over 1 to make it into a fraction, because 1 divided by 1 is going to give me 1. So in this case, I am going to start at my first point, my beginning, my y-intercept, and I'm going to go up positive 1 over positive 1, and it's to the right because it's positive, and I'm going to put a point. Again, up positive 1 over positive 1, put a point. I can also say negative 1 over negative 1. So I could go down 1 to the left 1, because negative 1 divided by negative 1 is also a positive 1. So I could also go down negative 1 over to the left negative 1 and put a point. Again, I say 3 points is a line. There's 4, so that's plenty. Connect your dots, and there is your line. So that's your parent function. From there, it changes. From there, it's going to change. The slope might change. Where it starts, the y-intercept might change. So if I have my parent function on here, let's go to Decimus real quick. If I have my parent function, y equals x, there it is. We just graphed it. Going through the origin, it's going up 1 over 1. There's a point at 1. Come on. Right there. Up 1 over 1. There's a point. Keeps on going. Now, if I add plus 1, what happens to the line? Maybe I'll do it underneath it. I'm going to do y equals x, except this time I'm going to add plus 1. What happened? My red line's my parent. All that happened was it shifted up 1. The slopes stay the same. They're the same slope, but it shifted to start at 1. My beginning is now 1 instead of 0. If I have y equals x plus 2, where's my beginning? It's now starting at 2. So the slope's not changing. I'm not changing anything in front of my x. All their slopes are the same slope. The starting point is what's changing. Watch what happens if I change my slope. Y equals, let's put a 2 there instead of a 1. 2x. I didn't change the slope, so it's still starting at the beginning, 0. But notice my slope got steeper. A 2 made it the slope steeper. Y equals 3x. The slope got more steep. What happens if I do a fraction? Y equals 1/2 x. There's a lot going on. Y equals 1/2 x. This time, can we change that? We changed it, and it got less steep. What if I did y equals 1 divided by 3x? That even got less steep. So if you notice, if the slope is greater than 1, my slope's going to get steeper. If it's less than 1, it's going to be less steep, is what's happening. And what happens if I change my slope to be a negative? Y equals negative 2x. Or let's just do y equals negative x. It flipped it and made it negative, because this is positive. Nice, negative all the way down. So that's kind of what happening. I want y'all to get on Desmos and kind of play around with it and see what happens when you change this parent function and see what happens. I think that's really important that you can kind of see. And Desmos does a great job of letting you see what happens. Down here, we've done this before. It says circle the graphs whose parent functions are linear. This one's not. That has a curve. That's a line. This has an x squared, so that's not it. X in the denominator, no. Square root of x, no. This one is, that has 3 to the x power, nope. And then this one is as well. And again, we've already done it. Go back and look at those notes if you want the full explanation of why, but we're looking for it to be in the form y equals mx plus b. Okay, recall, all lines have a slope and a y-intercept. And it's given in this formula. My slope is my m in this formula, and my y-intercept is my b in this formula. Okay, and again, this is called, this formula, y equals mx plus b, is called slope intercept form. And we're not creative, we're math people. It's called slope intercept because it literally gives us a slope and it gives us our y-intercept. That's why it's called slope intercept. And it's the best form because it gives you everything right there. And again, it gives us slope and it gives us our y-intercept. Whoops, go back. And again, slope is m, y-intercept's b. Okay, here's your steps to graphing, which we've already kind of talked about. Step number 1 is to plot the y-intercept. Okay, remember, it's where you begin. B is where you begin. Then you use a slope to find your other points. And slope is what over what? Rise over run. So B is your beginning, and then you look at your slope to go rise over run to get your other points. Then you connect the dots. That easy. So if I'm given this equation, y equals 2x plus 1, my slope here is 2. My y-intercept is 1. So my beginning is 1. So I'm going to start at 1. My slope I have to change to rise over run. So the only way to change this whole number is just to put a 1 underneath it. So I can go up 2, positive 2, whoops, not 1, and then over positive 1 and put a point. I could also make this negative and negative because that's also going to equal 2. Negative 2 divided by negative 1 will also give us our slope of 2. So I could go down 1, 2, and over to the left 1 and put a point. Then I connect my dots. I only need 3 points to make a line. And I'm good to go. Number 2, if I look at my slope, is negative 1, the number in front of my x. I've got negative 1 x's, and my y-intercept is negative 2. That's where I begin. So I'm beginning at negative 2 on my y. And my slope, I need to change it to rise over run. So negative 1, and I'm just going to add a 1 underneath it. So I'm going to go, this time instead of rising, it's a negative, so I've got to go down negative 1 and over to the right. I probably need to write that differently. Down negative 1 over to the right, positive 1, and put a point. I can also switch it and make it positive 1 over negative 1 because that'll also give me negative 1 as my slope. 1 divided by negative 1 is negative 1. So I can go up positive 1 and to the left negative 1 and put a point. Then I connect my dots. And there's my graph. 3. My slope is right next to my x of negative 1/2. There is no y-intercept, so what's the only thing I can add that would change it? That would not change it, excuse me. Plus 0, my y-intercept 0. So anytime you do not have a b, you're always starting at the origin. You're starting at 0. And that means that your x-intercept and your y-intercept are both 0. Then I'm following negative 1/2. So I can either go up positive 1 over negative 2 and put a point, or I can go down negative 1 and go over, again, I probably need to write that on the other side, down negative 1 and over positive 2. and put a point. Either one of those works. There's my line. So pretty much the same thing we've been doing. Like, that's it. Slope is 3 because it's next to my x. Y-intercept is 4. So 4 is my beginning because it's my b. So I'm starting at positive 4. I need to change this to rise over run. So I'm just going to take my whole number and put it over 1. So I can go up positive 3 over 1. But look, I'm out of room. So then I'm going to change this to negative 3, negative 1 because I'll still get that positive 3. Negative 3 divided by negative 1 is positive 3. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3 and over negative 1 and put my point. Down 1, 2, 3 over negative 1 and put a point. Feeling good? Yes, no, maybe so. Okay, what about this guy? Y equals negative 3. Do I have any x's? There's no x's, so this is my y-intercept, negative 3. But remember, it's given in y equals mx plus b. I have 0 x's. 0 x's. So what's my slope? 0, right? So my beginning is negative 3. Start at, negative 3. But my slope is 0. 0, fun. Remember slope man. Puff, puff, positive. Nice, negative. This is 0, fun. Undefined. So 0, fun is this flat line. So I'm just going to have a flat line going through negative 3 because my slope is 0. This guy is x equals 2. X equals 2. Okay. Anytime you've got x equals a number, your slope is undefined, always. Undefined. So it's straight up and down. And there is no y-intercept, ever. No y-intercept. So your slope here, you're going to put a point at 2 on your x, because x is 2. So here's my x-axis, right? I'm going to put a point at 2, and it's going undefined. So puff, puff, positive, nice, negative, 0, fun, undefined. So it's this line going straight up and down. So I should have a straight up and down line going through x at 2. Okay, let's look at, oh, whoops. I didn't fill this out for these. Number 5, it says for every value of x, the value of y is, it's always negative 3. So whether I'm here, this is over 1, but I'm still down negative 3. This one's over 2, but I'm still down negative 3. This one, over negative 2, but I'm still down negative 3. So what do you notice? Every single time it's negative 3. I'm not moving. I'm staying on that straight line there. This one says for every value of y, the x is 2. Because notice, if I'm here, I'm going over 2, up 3, over 2, up 1, over 2, down negative 3. My value for x is always 2 because I'm staying on that line. Okay, let's look at 7. So it says graph the line that contains the points negative 2, 3, and has a slope of negative 2. So this time I know my line contains negative 2, 3. So I don't have a beginning, but I know that it has to go through negative 2, 3. So let's go ahead and plot negative 2, 3 because my line is going through that. So I'm going to go over negative 2, up to positive 3 and put my first point because I know I have to include that in my graph. My slope is a negative 2, so to turn that into rise over run, I'm going to put negative 2 over 1. So I can go down negative 2 and over positive 1, put a point. Down negative 2 over positive 1 and put a point. Down negative 2 over positive 1 and put a point. So there is my graph. Negative 2, 1. And if you look at it, slope dude, plus, minus, 0, undefined. We have a negative slope, so it should be going this way. And our line is going that way, so we are good to go. Okay, Number last. Brandy has $200 in her savings account and deposits an additional $150 monthly. Write an equation. So what's her beginning? She's beginning with that, but then every month she's adding this. So that's our slope. So if I were to write an equation, it would be y equals 150 times however many months plus her beginning is 200. So if I were to graph this, I would start at the beginning, which is 200 on my y. And then what's happening is I'm going up. Here's my slope, m equals 150. If I were to turn that into rise over run, just put a 1 over it no matter what the number is. So I'm going up 150 over 1. So I'm at 200. I'm going to go up to 350 over 1. Then I'm going to go up to 500 over 1. Up to 650 over 1. And again, I only need 3 points, but there it is. And so then I connect my dots, and there is my line. That is today's lesson, y'all. You have a Google form to complete in Google Classroom. So if we go to Google Classroom, classwork, Thursday, here it is, graphing lines. Come on. What I need you to do is it says which graph matches the equation shown below. So it's going to give you an equation, and then it's going to give you 4 different graphs. So what I would do is first look at the y-intercept. In this case, my beginning is -1. So I know I have to first have a line going through -1, which that one does. That one doesn't have one going through -1, so I know that one's not it. That one's going through +1, and this one's going through -1. So I'm down to 4 and 1, option 1 and 4. Then my slope is 2/5, so up 2 over 5 to the right. It's a positive slope. So just by knowing positive, that's a nice negative. Nice negative. So option 1's not it. This, option 4, is going up, puff, puff, positive. So option 4 should be the correct answer for number 1. So that's what you're doing. Just looking at this, start with your y-intercept, your beginning, and mark off ones that don't match that, and then look at your slope. I think there is, how many questions we got? 10 questions. So that is your homework for tonight. So your homework this week, you've had Monday was on Go Formative 4.1. That is already in the grade book. Tuesday, 4.2 is already in the grade book. That was a Go Formative. Wednesday was a Google form right here. And then again today, Thursday, is another Google form. Let me know if you have any questions. Have a great day, y'all.